enough dilly-dallying. You guys are like, hey, we got a certified New York City tour guide right there. When is he gonna start teaching us something? All right, fine. We're gonna give you guys a little tour the way it was meant to be given, while sitting in a basement. It's time for tour time with Tom, baby. Oh, look at that. Hey, there's me. Oh, there's me doing that. Oh, it's a family affair. It's gonna be fun and dabbing rad. So here's the deal, guys. We're gonna do a little tour today. You guys, look, it's summer. How amazing is that? The weather's starting to change. You guys are gonna be outside. You guys need some stuff that can help you be cool. So I'm gonna give you guys a tour of the coolest park in the world. Rap metal supergroup, Linkin Park. No, I'm just kidding. The best place you could possibly go on a nice day in the world, in my opinion, and probably the best cheap date in the United States, Central Park. Oh boy, you guys are gonna leave here knowing about Central Park. Look at these amazing views, Bethesda Terrace, the views of the skyline. Cheap date, baby, but don't use this card too many times because your date will see right through it. Okay, so you maybe once or twice. All right, so here's the deal. Let's go, first of all, with what used to be. So the park opened in 1858, right? But what the hell used to be on the land before Central Park? Well, there's a few things that it was known for. One, war. In fact, during the Revolutionary War, this is the area where George Washington and all his troops kind of escaped up the island on their way out of here, being booted by the British as they took over the island of New York City and made it their headquarters for the revolution. You can actually see this little blockhouse here up on the northwest corner, like near 109th. This is called the Blockhouse. This was actually built by the, quote, Americans, the new Americans, for the War of 1812. Because they learned their lesson and they're like, we're going to fortify this thing. Pretty cool. You can go up there and visit that. War of 1812, in case you don't know, was famous for the inspiration for the Star-Spangled Banner. The bombing over Maryland is what inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. You guys know that song? That's the one that goes like, oh, say, can you see? Thank you. More like Francis Scott in key, right? Come on. All right. Anyways, another thing that was there before was Seneca Village, right? Seneca Village was actually the biggest village on the entire 843 acres of Central Park. This is a little village that was actually right where the Natural History Museum is, around that area. And it was mostly African American, some Irish and some German, but mostly African American. This is a big deal. So this opened it started to kind of settle like the 1820s. So keep in mind, slavery wasn't completely abolished in New York City until 1827. And in 1821, you could vote if you were free and black, but you had to have property, right? You had to have property. That's a brutal requirement. No one in here could vote if we had to be property owners. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't plan on voting my entire life. But you had to have property, and this was one of the ways they got property. They had their own little village here. It was great. Hundreds of people lived there, and they got the boot. They got the boot for the park, and you may be thinking, well, that's what happens. Eminent domain, it's very natural. You leave, you have to get displaced. That's just what happens. Only problem is when you get displaced and you're an African-American community, where do you go? There's nowhere else for you to go. You can't buy property. You can't get in anywhere you want. So it was a very different time. So they actually just recently, a few years ago, put up these signs that you can walk around the Seneca Village walk. Pretty cool. Only took 160 years to recognize that, but it is a very important part of Central Park's history. Another little part of history, you may not know this, there used to be an actual convent on Central Park. Yeah, Mount St. Vincent. This is what it looked like. Isn't that nuts? It was a convent with nuns running around inside. And as someone who went to Catholic school for most of his life, being taught by nuns, I can tell you that is no walk in the park. That's pretty good. And that's the show. Thank you guys for coming out. No, but it's interesting going to nun school, Catholic school. I once had a teacher tell me I was going to hell. Yeah, she said straight to my face, "You're going to hell." How do you tell a little kid like this that he's going to hell? Huh? What's wrong with you? I'll tell you how, because he grows up to look like this. That's how. All right, so let's get here to the beginning, all right? So we're talking about what was there before. So here's the thing. The grid plan of 1811 is what laid out all the streets. First Street, Second Street, avenues, First Avenue, Second Avenue, all that stuff was the grid plan 1811. And guess what they forgot to put there? Parks. Yikes. So it actually took a whole movement to create the parks, including Central Park. And this guy here, William Cullen Bryant, is the one who kind of spearheaded it. 1844, this guy's the editor-in-chief of what is then the New York Evening Post. He writes this article, he writes this op-ed saying, hey, we need a park for everybody. It's disgusting here, lots of immigrants, it's a mess, let's do it. By the way, this is the guy in Bryant Park. That's what it's named after, Bryant Park. This guy, oh, isn't that cool? He was a published author at 16, an award-winning poet, and the editor-in-chief of the New York Evening Post, which was the predecessor of today's New York Post. So I'm pretty sure he's responsible for this headline. It's possible. I don't know. Who knows? So this guy gets the ball rolling. The question is, where are they going to put this park? The first thought they had is this place called Jones Wood. Okay, this is over in the Upper East Side, all right? This is where today's Rockefeller University is located. And this was the first thought they were going to do. They eventually have lots of problems getting that land, et cetera, et cetera. And this one guy wanted more land. This guy's name is Andrew Jackson Downing. This is the guy who was going to build Central Park originally. He was building the land that they were going to put the Smithsonian on. He was a big deal in landscape architecture. One problem. He gets the land he wants, which is a bigger swath of land, more centrally located. But he dies. He dies in 1852. Guess how he died? He died on a steamboat race in the Hudson River. That's right. You didn't think it could happen, but it did. The Henry Clay. The Henry Clay was a boat that raced in other steamboats, as they did in the Hudson River, a little north of New York City, actually, and overheated, caught fire. Like 80 people died. This was actually like a predecessor to the Titanic because a lot of the people on that boat were rich because they were on this steamboat, and he was one of the rich people who died on this boat. Kind of insane. Anyways, the question then becomes, who's going to build the park? Who's going to build it? Well, this is where we get our hero, baby. That's right, Calvert Vaux. Yeah, Calvert Vaux was his assistant. Calvert Vaux was like, this is my chance, man. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be cool, finally, right? Only problem is he was a nobody. He was a nobody, so guess what he did? He convinces the city to open it as a contest, right? They're going to open the design contest for Central Park, because that was the only way he was going to avoid them giving it to someone else. It was very smart. So all of the best landscape architects in the world converge on New York City for a game of pin the tail on the donkey. No, that's not true. Actually, they did an open contest, and they all submitted plans. So Calvert Vaux recruits Frederick Law Olmsted, baby, and they team up. They team up, and they submit their plan among 33 other plans, and they are chosen, and it's called the Greensward Plan. So the result that you see today is their plan. Now, what the Greensward Plan did was basically tried to return to nature. Remember, this is a time of like Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson and return to nature, naturalism. It's almost a religious experience. You go through Central Park and you're like, man, I am in nature. But everything there was put there by a human being. It's a living work of art put on the earth. That's an incredible thing. We have that right in our backyard, and it was based on the Hudson River School. This is the Hudson River School of Art. Isn't that amazing? Back then, people used to paint stuff like this. Today, if you Google work of art, this is the crap you get. What the hell is that? Come on. Give me some Hudson River School. Anyways, they get chosen, and look at that. Central Park rocks. Yeah, so Central Park rocks. So what they did was they used what was there already before, and it's all the rocks that were already on that land, which is one of the reasons why it wasn't that settled. This rock is called Manhattan schist. Schist. That's what it's called, baby. Yeah, you can go ahead and repeat that when you go through there. You'll be the hit of the town. You'll be the talk of the town. That's a real funny joke, the old schist joke. Look at me, I'm stepping in schist. Huh? Central Park's just full of schist. Oh, man, you could have so much fun with that. Holy Lord. The reason it's there, though, is because of the Wisconsin Glacier actually over, thousands and thousands of years ago receded out to the sea at the end of the Ice Age. And as it did, it scraped up lots of dirt, exposing lots of this rock. And creating, basically, the island of Manhattan and some of the moraine on Long Island. Look at that. It's interesting, right? So you can tell and use the schist joke. I promise you. I used to use it all the time in tour guiding, baby. The kids loved it. Here's a picture of some of the kids on my tour. They loved it. They love it. Anyways, another feature of the park is that it changes over time. And that's one of the cool things about it. The park has evolved as humans and the city has evolved. This is a good example. This is Sheep Meadow. You ever been there? It's a great place to lay out and do all that stuff. This is called Sheep Meadow because they used to keep sheep there. They used to keep sheep there so you felt like you were in nature, the whole thing. Remember that, going back to nature? During the actual Depression, it was a problem. They actually created like shanty towns there and ate the sheep. It's a free meal. What can you do? Today, though, you just go out there and you can lay out. It's really beautiful. I recommend you do it. Just go out there like I do and just casually lay out. It's really nice. You just casually. A friend of mine took this picture of me. All right. Another example of things that evolved is Shakespeare in the Park. Shakespeare in the Park was this guy, Joe Papp, who used to go around the city and do presentations of Shakespeare to everybody. So we could bring the magic of Shakespeare and thespianism to everybody in New York City, right? He eventually sets up what is today you guys know where Joe's Pub is, right? That theater, all that was set up by him, the public theater. And they eventually gave him space in Central Park to create Shakespeare in the Park. Huh? Yeah, pretty cool. All you Gen Zers out there, William Shakespeare was just like a 17th century content creator. Yeah, he was the one who wrote the viral meme Hamlet. That was him. So just so you guys know, that's him right there. Okay, cool. All right. And for this reason, it's the most filmed location in the world, they say. Over 250 feature films have been filmed in Central Park. Isn't that insane? From classics like Dustin Hoffman's masterpiece performance in Kramer versus Kramer, right? You have Martin Scorsese's legendary film, Taxi Driver, and you have Made in Manhattan. That one's there. That one's too. Was legendary film. It's funny because they did Avengers there. They did a scene where Thor and Loki go back to Asgard. They get beamed up. That is more believable than J-Lo being a maid. I think that's easier time believing that. Okay. Another important takeaway. It is not technically public. This is important. When you're around New York, you should keep this in mind. It is not technically public. It's actually run by a private organization known as the Central Park Conservancy, which makes most of its money off donations. And it can do kind of whatever it wants. This is an important thing to know. And while the park's clean and everything, people don't really complain about it, and that's fine. But it's an important thing to know because when you do have an issue with what's happening there, there may not be as much recourse as you'd like. So one of the reasons you see the benches around there is because people pay money, like Madonna, who paid for Madonna's bench. She really did this. This is real. You pay $10,000 for a bench, that money goes to the Central Park Conservancy and they use it to take care of it. Also, they kind of lease parts of the park out or they farm out the management of certain parts. For example, Woolman Rink is run by this guy. Yes. Yes way. Yes way. Next time you're skating in Woolman Rink, you're skating on this guy's backyard. So it's something to keep in mind. And another recent thing is the skyscrapers that have been going up a little bit around the park and covering the sun. This is another issue. So you kind of really don't have much recourse, neither does the park itself. So it's kind of a whole thing you should keep in mind. We should really be vigilant because if not, this is what Bethesda Terrace is going to look like in the future. I'll tell you that's going to be what it looks like. So we got to be careful. And while it's still what it is today, it is a playground for kids. It's a playground for adults. A beautiful thing. And that's why it's one of the best bird watching destinations in the country. Amazing place. Over 280 different birds have been identified in Central Park by the Audubon Society. Pretty amazing. You could see all the guys with their long, cameras there taking pictures of birds. I hope they're taking pictures of birds. I guess they could be looking at people's windows with those things. I don't know. But you'll see them around there. So at the end of the day, guys, the real takeaway is that it's an amazing, amazing place that we're all very, very lucky to just have in our backyard. So I would say we're all lucky ducks. Yeah, that's a Mandarin duck, huh? Isn't that cool? Well, yeah. So guys, that's Central Park. You guys just took a tour of Central Park. Look at that. All right. Whew, man, I covered a bunch there.